Real Estate. I'm Shoda Young. Today we have a very special guest. He holds a senior position at Woolworths Mall of Africa as a visual manager and marketing department. He is a motivational speaker and has featured on YDIDI, Metro, as well as YFM. He has been mentored by the likes of Vusi, Thembekwayo, Randy Webb, and Dr. Richie. Mbongeni, Mhlanga, owns a successful branding company called Ruffael Printing Projects, which was started in 2009 in memory of his late dad. He joined Gaylin Estates in 2020 and is a property investor, specifically township. So here we go back to greenhouses. Very excited to have this conversation with Mbongeni, and I'm going to give it over to him. Mbongeni?
Thank you very much for having me on the show, and thank you very much for such a wonderful introduction. For a moment when you spoke about me there, I was like, wow, is this much that I'm doing? So yes, I'm a very self-motivated young man, and having grown up in a family household where both my parents were teachers, actually principals in high school, they always encouraged me to dream big, especially my dad. And I remember at one time when I was young, we had a conversation about real estate, and he was telling me that, you know what, had I known earlier that the real estate was the way to invest, that was the route he would have taken. But at that time, he was already approaching his retirement years, and that actually stuck with me. So I don't come from a family with a business background, but then I saw my dad tried to start up a few businesses, but then at that time he was already approaching his retirement years, and I actually saw that at some point he actually regretted to just having focused on just education and not tried other things on the side. So that was my key lesson from him. Immediately when I started working myself, that lesson stuck with me, that, you know what, I always had this conversation with my dad that, you know, you go to a job, your workplace, which is a great thing, because that's where you need to start. That's where you're going to learn how to be disciplined, but you're only there for 8 hours. And if a day has got 24 hours, what are you spending the rest of the day doing? So what I do, instead of watching soapies and coming back at home, lying on the couch and watching TV, I utilize that time to actually build something that even if one day I'm gone, I can hand it over to my kids. Unfortunately, I can't leave my kids my job, no matter how high I climb up in the corporate world. So that is when Ruffael Printing Projects came about, the mentorships. I actually got to learn. I started attending seminars. I had no idea about business, how to start a business, but I started attending seminars and I started learning there, and actually started learning how to register a business, etc. And that's where I started meeting people, started reading personal development. That was the first time I was ever introduced to personal development. I'd never heard that there was something called personal development that existed. And as I read personal development books, I picked up that I need to have a mentor, find someone that has achieved what you want to achieve, and then go learn from them. And my first book I read was actually Rich Dad, Poor Dad, from a business point of view, by Robert Kiyosaki, which was given to me by a friend on my birthday, on my 19th birthday. And that was basically my turning point. And that's where I actually, the real estate name came up again. And I remembered having a conversation with my dad when I was in high school, when I was just approaching to finish my high school years, and he was talking about that he would have invested in real estate earlier had he known, but no one had taught him that. You understand? So that's basically, just in summary, how I got introduced into the world of business, and then everything else has just been a learning curve. And it's actually quite a joy that you actually first go to work, and then after work you come back home and you start working on your legacy. It actually even motivates you more. And if you can get those two aligned well, you do so well at your job because you're self-motivated and you're looking forward to even going home to actually go build something else.
You know what? I'm so in love with what you say. So you're saying you're an entrepreneur, you're an intrapreneur. You know, a lot of people don't understand when you speak about entrepreneurs and how you have to innovate your business space. And even reading your bio that you sent through, I felt like I was in the presence of in fact, I am in the presence of a giant. I really, really am so interested in knowing about your mentors and how they added value. Specifically, my favorite, Vusi. I was very excited when I read your bio. So tell us how they've added value, and also how they are still continuing adding value.
Okay, so I met Vusi for the first time back in 2013 when I visited his office, and he gave me a couple of gifts, which were a few books and some DVDs to watch. So I first got to know about him from Dragon's Den. So what had happened, I actually got the opportunity to apply for Dragon's Den, but at that time I was in Bloemfontein, so I never made it through to the auditions because on that particular day it was quite hectic at work. But I started watching it, and then I just somehow connected with him. And I said, I want to meet this guy. And after reading up what he had achieved, I'm like, I'm going to drive down to Johannesburg and go meet with him. So I did that. I went there and basically shared my dreams with him. I had not even opened up the shop of Ruffael Printing Projects down in Bloemfontein, but it was something that I was already planning to do, and of which he contributed because he motivated me that, go for it, you need to do it. It's either you're going to win big or you're going to learn a lesson out of it if it doesn't work. So basically, you're not losing anything, and don't be scared. If it's something that really burns up within you, go for it. And then from there on, we continued keeping in touch. From time to time, I would drop by his office and get a few key learnings, buy a few DVDs from him. I have a collection of DVDs that I got from him. And then later on, he started a WhatsApp group where you put us young entrepreneurs, and then he mentored us because obviously there were a lot of us that demanded his attention, and he couldn't split himself to be able to accommodate us all the time. So he decided, what, we're going to form a group, of which it came in handy last year during lockdown, because every day we would log into a Zoom during the first 20 days of the lockdown, and we would literally discuss books. So it made it quite fun. All entrepreneurs would come in, would pick up a book to read, and then following day we would discuss it. And it was all people logging in, and he was leading the whole session. And then recently I joined Gaylin Estates, and obviously now I'm pushing my passion. I've always been passionate about property and learning more on how you can actually acquire so much property as an individual, because just like the Bible says, you need to invest in land and property. That's where the real investment is. And as a spiritual person, I read my Bible and I follow what the Bible says. So everything else that I do in the end, it's to one day acquire land, build property, because that's where the legacy lies for my kids. So at Gaylin Estates, there I get mentored by a young lady called Tez, and she's been showing me around and actually guiding me in basically everything to do with property. All the questions that I've always had, now I've got someone just at a dial of a button that can answer all my questions. And she also comes with a wide experience in the property industry because she's been there for years now. She's no longer doing the agency part, but what she does, she mentors the agents within the organization.
Okay, that's very, very interesting. That's very broad. Well, I know that when I was reading your bio, I wanna know a little bit more about your business, because I felt that it was a very challenging thing to take on, to have a job, build a business, and then obviously also be an entrepreneur by being an agent and pursuing that journey. I know that
Yes.
you've employed 4 people, and I also know that as part of your passion is giving back to those who are less fortunate. Can you just tell us a little bit more about your dreams in terms of what you'd like to do? Because to me, that seemed like you want to make a huge difference, not just with real estate, but also just within our economy, I'd say.
Yes. Okay, so in 2009, in 2008, actually, when my dad passed away, he passed away on the 3rd of December. And then the following year, which was 2009, I did the first registration part where I started Ruffael Printing Projects. Well, at that time, I was still a student. I didn't have any capital. So what I was doing, I was working from my flat. I was staying at a one-bedroom flat in Pretoria, Arcadia. And what I would do, I was good with marketing. I've always been good with speaking to people. I would go out there, make good relationships with people. At first, I was only just focusing on the printing of T-shirts. And so I would get these clients, and I would then go to my cousin brother who had also started a similar line of business, but he had the machinery, and he would actually do the printing for me. So basically, I played the role of being an agent in between the person that had the equipment to actually do the work and the customer. So I was very good at getting the customers, and then I would basically just manage the quality of the work up until it gets delivered to the customer. That's how it all started. But at that time, I had close to zero experience about running a business or growing it or managing the financial sides. So even if I was getting a lot of jobs now, I didn't know what was the next step on how to expand. How do I move now to actually now getting the experience of actually having my own machinery or eventually having a shop? So now that's where that was around the same time where I'd already started attending seminars, and now I had to now get mentors to actually help me grow this. So at that time, I was studying. I also had a job. I was basically a very junior staff member at Woolworths. I started right from the rock bottom. I was working 28 hours a week. And when I joined Woolworths, my intention was not even to stay long because I was studying. But then God blessed me with the sense that when I was there, there's people that saw potential in me. So they promoted me very quickly because I was a hard worker and just saw something special in me. So within 3 years, I found myself holding a senior position within Woolworths. That's how I ended up in Bloemfontein, because I had to go fulfill a senior management role there for a new position that they'd just advertised. So while I was there, I'd already started Ruffael Printing Projects. So when I was there now in Bloemfontein, because Bloemfontein is a small town, so you would finish work early. So I found myself with a lot of time in my hand as compared to the time I was here in Joburg. So I remember one time sitting in my apartment, I'm like, what can I do now? I've got all this time. And then that's when I went back to the file of Ruffael Printing Projects that, you know what, I started something when I was in Johannesburg, and now I need to finish it off. And at that time, I'd managed to buy a 2-bedroom flat. So now I had my own flat, a 1-bedroom that was empty. I'm not using it for anything, so why not utilize it? You know, from having experience from retail, that every space that you see is a potential for you to put stock and sell. So I asked myself, I've got this empty room. How can I convert it, or how can I utilize it best to actually make money out of it? Then I left my flat. I was staying opposite the mall. At first I Googled some machines, some printing machines on the internet, and then I saw the prices. I was like, you know what? Let me go to FNB and take a personal loan, and I buy these machines. And I did exactly that. And then because I already knew that I had the skill of marketing, I knew it wouldn't be a problem for me to get clients. And then I started operating from my flat. I would go to work in the morning. When I knock off around 4 or 5 o'clock, I come back to the flat. There's clients coming through to actually get print T-shirts and mugs printed.
I'm so
you know.
inspired.
And then, so from there, what grew from there now, I started doing designer T-shirts. I got this idea of doing designs on T-shirts, and I went and spoke to one of the malls that were actually in downtown there, that I wanted to book space for just a Friday and Saturday, every month end of Friday and Saturday, and I exhibit my T-shirts. They were very young, funky T-shirts with interesting messages on them that had the potential of attracting the youth. And some of them I would even do cultural T-shirts that would actually connect with the culture in the local market, and they loved that. And then so now what I did now, I turned my space, because I couldn't be there every day to assist customers. So now I said, let me turn this into a mini factory, and I just do the printing of T-shirts, maybe 50 of them. On a weekend, I just hire 1 or 2 people from the township that don't have a job, pay them maybe 150 rands for the day or whatever, and then I stand with them there, and we basically sell those T-shirts. And then what started off as a trial actually ended up disrupting other tenants in the mall, where they had complained that, you know what, I'm not a tenant in the mall, but I'm there and I'm taking clients from them, because now people would look forward. And the fact that we would only do it once a month is what got people excited, because they were now looking for the next month, because they wanted to see what else we have and what designs we have. So I was working with these two young boys that were good designers. They understood the local market, they understood the language, the lingo, and what people liked. So I worked with them, and it was a good experience. So while I was there exhibiting, on that very same Saturday, there was a company and that was looking for young entrepreneurs to fund. And all you had to do is enter the competition. Then they would call you to come and do a business presentation on what you are doing and how you would need assistance to grow. I actually have the certificate up there. They were called it was called the Enterprise Challenge. I actually have it up there. That out of when I entered that competition, then we went there. We did the business presentations, the plans, and at that time I was now my mindset was set that I need to open a small standalone shop and hire one or two people, and this particularly these two boys that I'd been working with that were going to work there, because they were very excited to work with me. And now, when I started sharing with them that I can actually open a shop, because in those towns, employment is quite a problem, it's quite a challenge, and they were passionate about what they were doing. So after I entered the competition and presented everything, to cut a long story short, in the end, we entered, there were 745 of us, because it was a Free State job challenge competition. And after we presented everything, I came third in that out of 745 contestants. I came third. And the funding was 100,000 rands. And I took that 100,000 rands and I put together that shop. So wow. It wasn't enough money, because I utilized literally all the money to the dot to purchase the additional machinery, to get the shop ready, to sign the leases, etc., to buy the material, like everything within that. And I was still short because I still didn't have that large format digital printer. So so it was quite a lot of work. It became stressful because we opened up, and then after you open up a shop, as customers come in, then you realized all the missed opportunities. Because I remember when we opened up, I didn't have a proper internet connection. I thought using a normal Wi-Fi router would work. It didn't work. I had to have a telecom line. So that became a huge frustration and a stress. Now I had to go apply for a telecom line, which took some time to get connected, and the customers wanted to download some stuff from the internet or log into the emails, and it was just a headache.
You were just one of the best examples of you don't have to have money to start.
Yes.
You know.
No. If you've got the idea, you've got the passion, you'll make it work. The money will catch up with you when you're already in the process and moving. That's the problem actually with most entrepreneurs. They want to first get the funding before they start. And what they don't understand is that once you have started, someone will identify you to actually help you grow your business, because they can see, okay, I see the potential in all this. Sometimes they even see more potential than you see it yourself.
True. That's facts right there. As I said, I'm in the midst of a giant. I feel so honored to have you on this platform. Now, something I really want to touch on, and the reason we're here is for your success story on your investment property. You have chosen to invest in the townships. I remember when we spoke on the phone, you told me what your dream was going to be. And in fact, what you had planned. We didn't go in depth, and I'd like you to go in depth on what kind of plans you had going for this particular project. And I remember you saying you'd like to have little greenhouses all over the townships. Yes. Can you tell us more about that?
Okay, so I had already started investing in property with the first flat that I bought when I was in Bloemfontein. My vision was actually quite long. So I told myself, I knew that I was not going to stay in Bloemfontein for long. I knew that at some point I was going to move back in Johannesburg. So when I got there, my attitude was, I don't want to rent. I'm going to buy a small apartment, 2-bedroom apartment, so that when I move out, I'm able to rent it out. And then when I moved on to the next one, also the same thing. I'm going to buy a small apartment, 2 bedrooms. And then when I move out, maybe to my dream house, by the time I get to my dream house, I've accumulated all these properties along the way. And that's basically Robert Kiyosaki's teachings from his property investment book. So I was taking those teachings from there. So then down the road now, last year when I came to a decision that, you know what, I actually want to be in the industry so that I can also be able to identify more opportunities, and the company that I'll be working with, I can also help them identify opportunities, especially in the township. So you'll see that part of my portfolio of the areas I take off, there is one township there called Klipfontein. Because what happens then, when I went into the township, I realized that, yes, you find people that invest in property, they're building the rooms at the back to rent them out, but then there's no vision there. When I go and look at the type of rooms that they're renting out, because there's no vision, it's more of chasing the money, but not having something sustainable. So I say to myself, how do I get that person that cannot afford to stay in a townhouse, but stay in a township, but still have the feel of staying in a townhouse, building something beautiful, proper, because it honestly doesn't cost a lot of money to build something very beautiful. And myself being in marketing, I sign off graphic design work. I'm also a graphic designer myself. I can take the same image of a beautiful townhouse in North Riding, for example, and take it, narrow it down into a small room where someone can still fit in their basic components, but still feel like, you know what, I don't want to move out of here. I'm going to move out of this place at a time when I can actually afford something of my own. So as I spoke to a few people that actually rent these rooms, you'll find out in a year, maybe they move 3 or 4 times, simply because they are not happy with the safety of where they stay, or the place is not in a good condition. There's no proper tiling, there's no proper bathroom facilities, or some of them don't like the fact that they have to share with other tenants. And then I said, I can design something that can actually have all of this. You can have your own shower, your own small bathroom, a small place of a kitchen where you can put your bed, a built-in wardrobe, and you can have basically your own space, and also make sure that the yard has proper security, so that even when you're at work, you are at a peaceful mind. And when you are there, you like, you know what, and also bearing in mind that I give it to them at an affordable price, because especially most people that are starting off, they're not earning so well, but then they also want to have a good place where they can stay. That's basically what.
I also remember, and I wanna end this off because I know we're running out of time. But I remember saying something about there are a lot of people in our middle class and lower class income brackets, and I know that this was also a motivator for this. I myself, I'm an investor, and just like yourself, I work for a real estate company, and I've been doing so for 10 years. But I've also, because I've invested, and then I've sold, and then I've bought on my own, and then fixing it up and building it up, and then so also renting out one and making some income from that, but not a full income because it wasn't paid up. But I wanted to learn more. When you said that, I wanted to learn more about that, because I felt like you had clearly a little bit more information and insight regarding why you've chosen the green properties as we
Yes. So yeah, thank you for highlighting that. Very important. Yes. Also, after looking at the fact that, and also in my experience in my environment, where you would have, we work in an environment where there's a lot of lower class to medium class income earners, and obviously they cannot afford to buy in your suburbs, etc. There's a certain bracket that they fall in. So when I also looked at that in the township property, it's basically what they can afford. And there's definitely a huge opportunity, that the huge percentage in the economy of South Africa is run by people that are working in the middle class going down to the lower class. And they have to work themselves then from middle class to go up to the higher class, where then they eventually move out of the township. But then, so there is a huge opportunity when you look at the numbers there. So you are bound to sell more in the township if you are going to especially get hold of a new development area and selling it directed to the middle class, to the lower class. You are bound to move more units much quicker because those people want to own that property, and most of them don't have the education. They don't know how to even acquire a property, because I get a lot of people that will come and ask me and say, you know what, if I want to buy property, what steps do I have to follow? And I understand, because at some point as well, when I wanted to buy, I asked myself, where do I go to? They didn't teach me where I need to start. So I had to actually consult my brother, because he had bought a property. Then he told me that, no, just look for a real estate agent and then tell them what you're looking for. Then they'll take you for viewings, etc. So there lies a huge opportunity there, because there is also an opportunity to teach people, because people do not have the full knowledge. And once you build a relationship with them, you know how it's like in the real estate industry. The referrals just come your way. If you treat them well and you give them what they want, the next person is going to ask them, how did you do it? And then that's how your number just moves around.
I feel like our conversation can go on forever. I feel,
I feel so too.
You have to come back to this platform, please.
Yes, I will. Definitely, if I'm invited, I'll definitely come back.
No, you are. You are, definitely. So I want to end this off with your big why. I want to know why you have decided to go on to this path, this journey. You have in the beginning of the video, mentioned that your dad was, you don't come from a business background, but you were inspired and motivated, and that your dad also sort of opened the portal of real estate because it just stayed at the back of your mind. But what is your big why? What pushes you? What motivates you to do all these things? And yeah, just please share that with us.
Okay, so my big why is my family. And I want to have time freedom. Growing up, I had to watch my parents go to work, and then they had to share the remaining time with us. And sometimes they would be busy still. So I quickly understood that if I could build a legacy, something that could pay me, even if I didn't have to go to work, of which real estate will be good, because if you've accumulated enough properties and you've got tenants there, you don't really need to report to a job. You'll actually just use that income. It would buy me more time to spend with my family and actually watch. I currently have a 4-year-old daughter, but I would love to have more kids, at least 2 more. At least 2 more. So when I look at her, I just get inspired every day to work more, because what I'm doing is what she is going to imitate out of me and later on inherit. Kids don't do what we tell them to do, but they watch what we do and they do what we do.
Exactly.
I'm setting that example now by my daughter, and also for the other kids that are going to follow after her, and also for my family, setting a precedent that, you know what, I want to be the first one to have created this, and then from there on I teach you how to do it, and then you pass it on, etc. So that's my big why, is to basically get more time freedom so that I can spend time with my family and travel the world with my family and actually be there more than they actually need me, and watch my kids grow up. And of course, a legacy behind for them.
You see, guys, so there you have it. We're all building something because we want to leave a legacy for our families. And I think that's so important. The most important thing that I've taken from this conversation is that you do not need to have startup capital or money of any form to start somewhere or start your business. And from me and Mbongeni, thank you so much. I am so fortunate to have such amazing people around me. The value you've added today is priceless. I'm sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So that's it from us, guys. Lots of love. Stay safe. Wear your mask. And I'll see you guys next week. I'm out.